Dear brothers and sisters, greetings to you all. Today, we shall reflect on the theme, the unthinkable turn in the lives of God's messengers. The fifth Sunday in Ordinary Time invites us to see God's extraordinary intervention in the lives of God's messengers. The readings focus on this dimension, and persons invited respond readily. The first reading from the book of prophet Isaiah, chapter 6, verses 1 to 2 and 3 to 8, shows us God's transformative power in the life of Isaiah. The second reading from St. Paul's first letter to Corinthians, chapter 15, verses 1 to 11, emphasizes personal witnessing of Christ's gospel. The gospel reading from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 5, verses 1 to 11, reminds us of our own story and of God's story for us. To explain a story of our own, we have three stories today. They are not simple stories, but stories of God's messengers. We see the life of Isaiah, Paul, and Simon Peter. Each one of them has something important to tell us today. Their story tells us God's generosity. When God gets into their lives, all imperfections vanish. For us too, when God is our priority, all pain, misery, all imperfections will vanish. From the readings that we have for this fifth Sunday in Ordinary Time, from Isaiah, from the first letter of Corinthians, as well as the Gospel according to Luke, we will have 3 points to reflect further. The first point, a messenger's experience of God. Isaiah's experience of God is a compelling one. He is personally involved. He says, "I saw and I said." He has the vision of God who governs everything. He also personally is touched by God. The messenger narrates the whole process of purification. He is touched by God and realizes a personal connection with God. The angels of God are instrumental. They are at the service of God and humanity. In all this process, Isaiah keeps hearing and answering God's call, listening and perceiving how God touches our lives, helps us to become God's voice for the world today. We must delight in the wonders God does for us. As a result, we are ready to say, "Send me." We become God's messengers. The second point that we are reflecting today is about God writing messengers' story. Paul's story is a story that is rewritten by God. He went on doing what he liked, but once Lord Jesus came into his life, everything changed thereafter. Paul says that he preached what he received. Our preaching must flow from what we receive. That is, our personal connection to Christ. We in turn communicate it to others. we must sense how God is teaching us and how we need to take forward this personal experience. What it means that personal experience is an imitation of the one who teaches us. Christ taught in an unique manner. He died, was buried, and rose again. All this happened according to God's plan. Jesus felt the Father's will is everything, and he gave everything to the Father. Jesus experienced it personally and taught disciples to follow the path. Christ also appears to the chosen ones and guides. In this process, chosen ones never deny their past, but put their past in the light of the future destined by God. Paul strongly felt that he is an untimely born apostle. He came late to preach the gospel of Christ, but he was completely aware of the God's grace or grace of God in him. He became the total possession of God, and he kept living that with greater care and perfection. Each day he did better. That is the story of Paul, and the same is the story of a messenger of God. The third point we are going to see is about the surprises in messenger's story, or the unthinkable turn in messenger's story. This is the theme of the fifth Sunday for us, the unthinkable turn in messenger's story. Jesus gets into the life of ordinary people and makes it an extraordinary one. The owners of two tiny boats, who are professional fishermen in the lake of Gennesareth, are now taught by Jesus to fish spiritually. The result is extraordinary catch. Simon goes through a self-realization. The moment he benefits Jesus' power, he desires to get away from his sinfulness. The catch of fish surprises not only Simon, but also James and John. Though Simon tells, "Leave me, Lord, I am a sinful man," Jesus embraces him into his mission and tells him, "From now on, it is men you will catch." It is an unthinkable turn, not possible for men, but possible for God, who desires our hearts. Only God can do this. Jesus does in the lives of Peter, James, and John. Jesus also does the same in our lives, if only we realize the power of God's grace in our lives and the surprises God unfolds for us each day. Let us go beyond our personal stories and embrace the story that God holds for each one of us. Then we will experience God's transformative power, God's grace, and the unthinkable turn that God channels into our lives. May God direct our path and help us to rewrite our story, a story driven by God and for God alone. May God bless you and me. Thank you.